My name is William James Crawford. I am 77 years old, and I need to confess something to you that I've spent most of my life hiding from everyone, including myself. 30 years. 30 damn years. That is how long I walked around this earth feeling completely, utterly, hopelessly lost. Feeling lonely in rooms full of people who were supposed to love me. Feeling depressed even when my bank account was full and my career was climbing and every external metric said I was winning at life. I wasn't winning. I was surviving. And there's a difference between those two things so enormous that most people don't recognize it until they're my age, looking backward at decades of damage, wondering how they managed to destroy so many beautiful things, while believing the whole time that they were building something worth having. I fought a war for 30 years, a real war with real casualties and real destruction. But the war wasn't out there. It wasn't in my office or my marriage or my neighborhood or any of the places I kept pointing my weapons. The war was inside me. I was fighting ghosts, shadows of things that happened decades before I ever put on a suit or signed a mortgage or held my children for the first time. And because I didn't know the war was internal, I aimed every bullet outward, and I hit everyone I loved. I want to save you from that. I want to save you 30 years of doing what I did, fighting battles that don't exist, hurting people who don't deserve it, carrying explosives in your chest that detonate every time someone gets too close, and then standing in the wreckage, blaming everyone except the person who brought the bomb. Let me tell you what my life looked like in my 50s from the outside. Vice president of a company, corner office with my name on the door, good salary, nice house, 2 cars in the driveway, wife who stayed even when staying required more patience than any human being should be asked to produce, children who were fed and clothed and educated at schools that cost more than my father earned in 5 years. On paper, I had everything. In reality, I had nothing. Because inside that corner office, behind that name on the door, was a man who was angry all the time. Not occasionally angry, not justifiably angry about specific things, angry as a permanent state of being, angry the way some people are tall or left-handed. It was just what I was. I thought everyone was out to get me. Every interaction was filtered through a lens of threat and suspicion. My boss sends a short email. He's plotting to fire me. My wife doesn't smile when I walk through the door. She doesn't respect me. Someone cuts me off in traffic. The world is against me. I was a victim in a tailored suit. A man who had achieved everything society told him to achieve, and who experienced none of it because he was too busy defending himself against attacks that existed only in his own head. Here's what almost broke me when I finally understood it, and I mean almost broke me physically. I sat in a therapist's office at 62 years old and heard words that made my chest feel like it was caving in. When you walk around feeling like everyone is attacking you, when every small comment feels like a threat, when every minor disappointment feels like betrayal, when you react to your wife asking you to take out the trash as if she just questioned your worth as a human being. You are not reacting like a 50-year-old vice president. You are reacting like a helpless, terrified 7-year-old child. That's what was happening. Every explosion, every argument, every door I slammed and every voice I raised, and every relationship I damaged. It wasn't the adult William responding to present reality. It was little William, the boy who grew up watching his father come home from the factory every night exhausted and beaten down and treated like he was nothing by people who had more power than he did. I was 10 years old watching my father get dressed for work in the dark, putting on clothes that smelled like grease and disappointment, going to a place that used his body and discarded his dignity and paid him just enough to keep him coming back. I watched him shrink, year after year, watched the light in his eyes get dimmer, watched him stop laughing, stop hoping, stop being the man I needed him to be. And that 10-year-old boy learned something, learned it deep in his bones where lessons become permanent. The world is dangerous. People will step on you if you let them. You have to fight, always fight. Never let your guard down. Never show weakness. Never let anyone get close enough to see that you're scared, because scared people get destroyed. That lesson saved me as a child. It helped me survive a childhood that required armor, but I never took the armor off. I wore it into my 20s and my 30s and my 40s and my 50s. I wore it to work. I wore it to bed. I wore it to my children's birthday parties and my wife's family dinners, and every quiet moment that should have been safe but wasn't, because I didn't know how to feel safe without a fight happening somewhere. When my wife asked me to take out the trash, I didn't hear my wife. I heard the world telling me I was nothing, telling me I wasn't enough, telling me I was going to end up like my father, broken and diminished and used up by a system that didn't care whether he lived or died. And I snapped, over trash, over garbage bags, over something so small and so ordinary that any healthy adult would have just done it without thinking. But I wasn't responding as a healthy adult. I was responding as a terrified child. And that child had been running the show for 40 years without anyone, including me, knowing he was there. This is the part I need you to understand more than anything else I'm going to say today. A trigger on a gun is a tiny mechanism, just a small piece of metal, a spark. It has no power on its own, none. You could pull a trigger all day long and nothing would happen. The trigger doesn't cause the explosion. The gunpowder causes the explosion. The trigger is just the spark that ignites what's already there. And for 30 years I was packed full of gunpowder. 40 years of emotional explosives crammed into my chest. Insecurities I never examined. Fears I never faced. Childhood wounds I never cleaned or bandaged or even acknowledged existed. Then my kid spills milk at dinner. Spark. Explosion. I'm yelling at a 6-year-old over something that matters less than nothing, because the milk isn't the problem. The milk was never the problem. The problem is 40 years of gunpowder that nobody told me I was carrying and that I never thought to unpack. An employee makes a small mistake at work. Spark. Explosion. I'm berating someone in front of their colleagues over an error that could have been fixed in 5 minutes, because the error isn't the point. The point is I'm terrified of looking incompetent, because incompetent people get destroyed the way my father was destroyed, and I'd rather destroy someone else first than let that happen to me. And after every explosion, I'd look at the damage, the crying child, the humiliated employee, the wife who stopped trying to talk to me because talking to me was like handling a live grenade. And I'd think, look what they made me do. Look what they caused. Wrong. Completely wrong. They didn't cause anything. They provided a spark. I provided the gunpowder. And until you sit down and look in the mirror and unpack your own emotional explosives, the world is going to keep setting you off. not because the world is against you, because you are carrying enough powder to level a building, and every small friction becomes a detonation. There's a voice in your head. You know the one that wakes you at 3 a.m. when the house is dark and quiet and everyone else is sleeping peacefully. The voice that says you're a fraud, you're lazy, you're not good enough, you don't deserve what you have. Someone is going to find out the truth about you, and when they do, everything will collapse. I lived with that voice for decades. I thought it was my secret weapon, my competitive advantage. I thought if I beat myself up harder than anyone else could, then nobody could ever hurt me, because I'd already done the damage first. I thought the voice kept me sharp, kept me hungry, kept me from getting soft and complacent. It wasn't a weapon. It was the thing making me miserable. It was the engine driving every explosion, every argument, every ruined evening, and every relationship I damaged beyond repair. That voice is not truth. It is not God speaking. It is not reality delivering an honest assessment of your worth. That voice is a terrified child inside you, trying to protect you from rejection by rejecting yourself first. It's like a friend who gives terrible advice because they love you, but they're scared, and scared people give scared advice. Don't fight the voice. Don't try to drown it with work or alcohol or shopping or achievements. That just adds more gunpowder. Instead, do something that will feel strange the first time and life-changing by the 10th. Close your eyes, put your hand on your chest, and say to that voice, "Thank you. I know you're trying to protect me. I know you're scared, but I'm the adult now. I'm driving the car. You can sit in the back seat and rest. If I had known how to do that at 30, the pain I would have saved myself and everyone around me is something I can't think about without my eyes filling up." This is the part that costs me the most to say, the part that wakes me up at night more than any 3 o'clock voice ever could. I thought I was a good father. I provided. Big house, good schools, new cars when they turned 16, college tuition paid in full. I gave them everything I never had growing up, everything my father couldn't give me because the factory took it all before he got home. But I was miserable, stressed, angry, carrying all that gunpowder everywhere I went, including through the front door of my own home every evening. And children don't care about square footage. Children don't care about the name on your office door. Children are sponges for your nervous system. When a child lives with a parent who is stressed and distant and angry and explosive, they don't think dad is worried about quarterly earnings. They think dad is miserable, and it must be my fault. I must not be good enough. If I were better, dad would be happy. That's what I gave my children. Not the house, not the education, not the cars. I gave them my gunpowder, passed my trauma right down to them, wrapped in expensive packaging. Let them inherit wounds I should have healed before they were born. Let them spend their adult lives bleeding from cuts I made because I was too proud or too scared or too stubborn to look at my own damage and deal with it. The greatest gifts you can give your children is not a trust fund, not a private school, not a bigger house or a better neighborhood. The greatest gift is a parent who is actually happy, a parent who has done the work of healing their own mind so their children don't have to spend their lives recovering from your pain. If you don't heal your wounds, your children will spend the rest of their lives bleeding from them. That is the hardest sentence I have ever spoken, and it is the truest. I'm 77. I can't undo the dinners I ruined. Can't unscream the words I screamed. Can't unhurt the people I hurt while fighting a war that existed only inside my own chest. But I can warn you, stop fighting the world. The world isn't your enemy. Your unhealed wounds are. Unpack your gunpowder before it detonates again. Talk to that scared voice in your head. Thank it. Then remind it you're the adult now. Choose to heal, not for your career, but for the people who love you. They don't need your paycheck. They need your presence, your real presence. The presence of someone who isn't constantly bracing for an attack that isn't coming. Everything you're looking for, that safety, that peace, that feeling of finally being enough, it's not out there. It's not in the next promotion or the bigger house or the approval of people who don't matter. It's inside you. It's already yours. You just have to stop running long enough to claim it. Peace is an inside job. Healing is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. And the only person who can do that job is you. Don't wait until you're 77 to figure this out. Don't let 30 years of fighting ghosts be your story. Start today, right now. Take care of yourselves, please, before it's too late. That's all I've got for today.